Welcome, everybody, to the most specialist episode of the Lunduke Show of all time. This is coming to you live, sort of. If you're watching the recorded version, it's not live. But for everyone else, it's friggin' live. I am holding a 24-hour telethon right now to raise funds to pay for me to be a member of the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium. If you've been following along with me or much of the tech news recently, you know there's been a lot of drama related to that. There's been a lot of concern on the public, from the nerdy public, from folks like you and me, about things that are happening at the W3C. So after I complained about that rather mercilessly, and after I talked with the W3C and folks within the W3C, members of the W3C, how many times can I say W3C? A lot. And after I complained a lot, I realized I needed to do something that was productive, not just me complaining on the outside. So I submitted paperwork to the W3C to join as an individual member. And actually, if you look through the W3C's website, I believe I will be the first individual, or at least the only just pure individual that'll be a member as of right now. All the other members, as far as I can tell, are parts of organizations, nonprofits, or for-profit corporations, which is kind of fascinating in and of itself. Now, me joining the W3C, it will be fairly inexpensive compared to what many of these mega corporations like Microsoft and Google and Netflix pay to the W3C, which is in the tens of thousands of dollars just to start with. We will be paying $2,250 in order to join the W3C, which isn't too bad. And I think this is important enough that I'm ponying up some of my own money to make this happen. I'm ponying up $250, but I can't justify the rest of it. I just can't. I think my wife would get pissed off at me. So I had to stop and say, hey, if this is something that's important to all of us, something that's important to the community, who wants to pitch in? And so I asked around, and the response was overwhelming. You guys just jumped on the chance and you said, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. And I am overwhelmed by that. And I agree with you. This is absolutely important. So I'm holding a fundraiser. A 24-hour live telethon is happening right now as I'm recording this. We're starting at midnight, at the stroke of midnight, Monday night, and we're rolling all the way through the day on Monday until midnight again, and then it'll suddenly be Tuesday, and then I'll be allowed to go to bed. So 24 hours, every second of the day during Monday, I'm live streaming to raise these funds. And I think we're going to do it pretty well. Now, the question is, how can people donate? If they want to donate, how can they do it? And this is a very good question, and I pondered on this for a while. And as I was going through and figuring out how best to raise funds to put me in the W3C, a good friend of mine reached out to me and said, hey, Brian, you're being stupid. You are missing an obvious opportunity here that people need. And that is that people need to be able to have a direct voice inside the W3C. Think about this for a moment. If we raise $2,000 and put me into the W3C, that's great. That allows me to go inside that organization and champion for openness, champion for transparency, fight against DRM and all DRM related technologies, and generally fight the good fight that all free software and free culture loving nerds want to be fought, right? But there's some downsides, right? There have been individuals that have done some of that already. The EFF and Cory Doctorow actually resigned from the W3C because they felt like they couldn't accomplish much. So what makes me think that I could do any better? And the reality is, Cory Doctorow and the EFF are amazing. I have a huge amount of respect for Cory and the whole EFF. So how could I be more powerful in that role? How could I make a bigger difference? How could I possibly make other voting members of the W3C stop and take notice of the things that I say? We need to put the power of the people behind me within that role. I need to be able to go into the W3C and say, this isn't my idea. You know, whether I'm fighting against DRM or fighting for transparency, or hell, just fighting for the re-implementation of the Blink HTML tag, I need to be able to go in and say, hey, people want this. Not Brian Lunduke wants this. Brian Lunduke might want this. Brian Lunduke probably does want this, but the people want this, and I need to be able to back that up. So two things have to happen. The first, this becomes basically crowdfunded. This isn't someone with an agenda that happens to have some deep pockets. This isn't a corporation backing me. It is purely individuals backing me, not companies. I was multiple big companies reached out to me, and some little ones too, offering to help get me into the W3C. But the problem with that is then it's too easy to write me off as someone who was just put in there by a company to do some corporate bidding. That cannot happen. And companies can pitch in with this. I invite any company to pitch in, but I don't want any one company sponsoring me in whole, because that would just absolutely ruin the power that I'm coming in with if I am funded by individuals like you, like me, like all of us. The second thing is, the ideas that I present themselves need to come from you. They have to. And we have to do it in such a way that when I present that information to other members of the W3C, it makes them take notice. So how do we do that? We let you vote. I go in the W3C. This is how I see it working. And I'm open to feedback on this if we need to alter this a little bit, but this is how I see it. If there is an issue coming up, a vote on, let's say, the HTML blink tag, I just like that as an example. I then turn around and put a poll out to everyone who contributes to this. Everyone who is currently contributing in some way gets a vote to tell me exactly how I should vote. In that way, that allows me to turn around and go in and say, hey, W3C member organizations, all you voting members, 1,000 people just voted 99% to 1% that we need to re-implement the HTML blink tag as a standard, suckers. And then it's not me. It's the people. The people are then saying, this is how things should be. And that gives me a lot more power, because then I can go to Netflix or Google and say, hey, Google, I know you like DRM. I know you like the EME. But you know what the nerds of the world don't like? That. They don't like that. It's not me being a freedom-thumping purist that's just fighting against DRM. It's me putting that out to the community and saying, here is exactly what the community wants. Now go ahead, Google. Fight against the nerds of the world. Fight against not just the nerds of the world, but the nerds of the world with really obnoxious, loud people like me who are yelling at you based on what they want. Now, here's just logistically. I should not get to override what you guys vote for under any circumstances. If I desperately think the blink tag, the HTML blink tag, should never be brought back, but 99% of you, hell, 51% of you say, yeah, bring back HTML blink tag, that's what I need to fight for. Because this isn't about shaping the W3C to Brian Lunduke's image. This is about opening it up. This is about giving the average person a voice of the open and free web standards that define our ability to interact with each other, to communicate with each other, and general computing going forward into the foreseeable future. If we don't have that power, if we don't have that ability, then we're screwed. We are just straight up screwed. So that's what we're raising funds for right now. If you're watching this, here's how you can donate. Okay, there's a lot of options. A lot of people requested Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. I'm not doing that right now. And it's not because I don't like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. It's because I needed a way where I could have everyone who donates have a nice, simple system for doing polls, right? I need to be able to say, hey, everyone who donated, here's a poll, and here's all the options. Here's all the options for EME, for DRM, for HTML blink tag, for whatever it is that's coming up. And there's a lot of stuff that happens at the W3C, and I will be posting that for you as I can. So if there's a thing that the W3C rules don't want me to talk about, well, we'll try to open them up so we can talk about them. But I can still ask you guys the generic questions. Like even if I can't share the internal W3C things right away, like details of a discussion around EME or something like that, I can still post you the question, what do you guys think? Yay or nay? DRM, yes or no, or yes with exceptions, etc., right? I need a way to do that, and I needed a way to do that that's closed. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out on this. I cannot let other companies and other corporate interests that are already in the W3C have the ability to impact what I fight for within the W3C, right? I can't let that happen. The only people that I can let do that are people that are not already represented by the big corporate interests within the W3C. That's the way it has to work. And in order to do that, what I decided was the only people that get to vote are the people that pitch in monetarily. I'm really torn on this. I'll be honest. Part of me just wants this to be open up to the whole world and let everyone have a vote, because that's how I feel it should be. But since that makes it far too easy to game the system, I can't let that happen. So everyone who pitches in, whether they pitch in $1 or $1 million, it doesn't matter. You get one vote. I will be pitching in 250 of my own dollars to this because I feel like it's really important. With that 250 pitched in, get one vote. Not a tiebreaker vote, not a special fancy vote, not an extra powerful vote. One vote, same as you, same as him, same as her. All of us exactly the same. End of story. And if all of you, or just a slight majority of you, disagree with my stance on it, I have to represent your stance. End of story. And in order to ensure that that happens, after every time there is a vote, I will make sure that my vote within the W3C is made public. I will then link to it so every single one of you can verify that I did exactly what you wanted me to do within the W3C, whether it's for the HTML blink tag or DRM or opening things up or whatever it is. So here's how people can vote. Let me see if I can show you this here. So go over to my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Brian Lunduk. Here's the URL for that. You go over to this website here. You go there and you click become a patron. That's it. Nice and simple. That's absolutely it. Once you've done that, you're in. That's it. That's it. Anyone who is one of my patrons over there right now or later on, even if you don't get in at the beginning, gets a vote. This is going to end up taking a fair bit of my time. It's just the truth. And so every little bit helps. It helps fund me be able to do this, and it helps fund me be able to continue to do this work. So not only are you helping to pay for the W3C funds and fees, but you're helping to keep me on the air, helping to keep me spending the time to go through the documents, to go through the specifications from the W3C and present those as options to you to define what the free and open web is in the future. Now, can we have a huge and dramatic impact? I don't know. I don't know, man. I hope so. I truly, for all of our sakes, I hope so. So there we go. So go over to patreon.com/Brian Lunduk and pitch in. Now, if you'd like to pitch in for the W3C campaign, to get me into the W3C, to pull together those funds, I would like, but you don't necessarily, like let's say you're like, I want to pitch in $20 to help get into the W3C, but I don't want to pay $20 recurring. Do that. Do the $20 or whatever. A dollar, whatever it is. Pitch it in, and if you want it to be less going forward, I have it set up in Patreon so it charges right away. Once you see the charges go through, just reduce the number back down to something crazy small. I don't need people to be in here emptying their bank accounts to make this happen. I do not I do not want that. I want this to be something that's reasonable, that the barrier to entry is incredibly low, and I want this to be that way. That it's nice and simple. It's really, really nice and simple. That's how we're going to do the fundraising for this. There are other mechanisms to do fundraising. You can also do PayPal. If you're part of the telethon, the 24-hour live stream, you can go ahead and do that via PayPal. We have a live chat going on, and there's a YouTube super chat. People can donate that way, and I'll include that all going towards the W3C. If you're seeing this after the fact, though, I recommend that you do it through Patreon, so you get that set up, and you can go ahead and and just be there and be part of it going forward. Now, if at any given time there are, a bunch of different topics going on at the W3C, and you're only interested in one or two of them, well, just, vote on those one or two topics, right? And realistically, there's no set schedule for internal W3C votes that I'm really aware of. A lot of times there's just, kind of regular discussions around things. So as discussions are going on, I will present thoughts and ideas and around those sorts of discussions to you, all within the W3C rules and guidelines, because I play by the rules. And I play by the rules. I got to play by the rules. And you guys tell me what to do. So there you go. That's what we're doing here. I want to say thank you to everyone who's already pitched in. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting me up to this point. This is a fairly exciting time, I think, for a lot of us. And man, I'd love to see where this goes from here, because I think this is about to get damned exciting.